Hey everyone, welcome to Brick Vault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode. I try to find the coolest LEGO custom creations that people have been making in the last week and show you guys some of my favorites. Links to everybody I'm talking about and more are in the description below if you want to learn more about these designers. And before I jump in, first I do want to say that the custom building instructions that have popped up in the web store this week come from the designer Zeo Creations, and we've got two different builds. One is the Warthog, and also the Scorpion from Halo. The models are really strong, easy to play with. The Warthog has several different variations depending on slightly different models if you want to build them. The details are absolutely excellent, and it's awesome to finally build some Halo vehicles. We've been wanting them in the studio ourselves for quite a long time. If you want to watch the video or build the models for yourself, links to everything are in the description below. That's www.brickvault.toys. And now let's check out some honorable mentions before the top 10. All right, from Shannon Sproul, this is the Spooks Encore. Just a pretty excellent scene in general. Here's an amazing commissioned build from Luca. The designer Dimex Art has an ideas set for a cash register model 452. Here's a collaborative build from 4 different designers. Adventures of Fred the Frog. Carter Witz has a wonderful little vignette of a tropical island. And this is really fun. PB, the designer, has built Nash Uo and Master Finn. This is a creative take on a Jedi Master, or technically 2 Jedi Masters. Tim Goddard has a construction team in yellow. The builder Lego Monkey has a wonderful hummingbird. Galad built the mouth of Sauron, but as a spaceship, which is just a strange and fun touch. Oh, I only just read the name of this designer right now. This is from Mucus Drizzle. The title is Martian Automaton. Great looking stance for a brick built fig. Cube Brick has a medieval bear axe. Check out the arrow that's in the target. That's a really fun little detail. This is Krylon Castle from Peter's Kevin. Really animate building. And lastly, the designer Cyro Toon Tomato built Lego Optimus Mech Samurai. If this isn't a fun creation for you, then I simply don't know what could be. Let's move on now to top 10 of the week. Some new creations went up in the Lego house for the Masterpiece Gallery. This is one of them from the designer City Sun. This is the Signature, designer Lee, and it just shows an excellent handle on the bricks here. We have some wonderful shapes for the lettering. It really does flow quite well, and it mimics that authentic sort of graffiti lettering style that you often see on the sides of big buildings. And then let's jump on over to a wonderful build slash photo. There's a bit of effects added here, but kind of subtle, and really it just enhances the overall atmosphere of this design from Nathan Smith. This is the Golden Tree is Lost. You can see a Spider King in the corner. He must have just defeated the knight that is defending this magical looking golden tree in the center, but this whole area just looks amazing. I love the lighting that's coming down through the open window, the starry night. Great build for tiling on the floor, ornate details that are higher up towards the roof, and it's one of these creations that not only brings you into the middle of a fantasy world, but right into the middle of a pretty catastrophic and dramatic moment. Jumping on over to a fun design, Alex Mox built Dawnpike Azaria, and it looks to be a somewhat humanoid dragon figure character. The build styling for a lot of the body feels somewhat simple, but I think it just shows an efficient use of parts. There's a lot of stance for this character. The balance seems to work just right. I like that it can lean forward a bit because that tail in the back just gives it a little bit of extra weight. And because of that, it just has one of the most realistic poses that I've seen for a brick-built figure all year. Let's jump on over to a wonderfully classic-looking design from Pieter Post. This is titled Winter is Coming, Prussian G12 in Royal Wurttemberg colors. Everything about this creation just works. The steam engine itself has a wonderful cylindrical design. There are some subtle angles when you see the engine room, for example. Those little windows curve in just ever so slightly, which is a great little touch. The bent flexi tubes all serve wonderful specific purposes, and the scene itself just feels magical with all of the snow that's covering the small bridge, frozen over lake, a deer, and even the steam coming from the stack at the top. feels a bit more animate and a bit more bulgy and lifelike. All right, let's jump now down to the designer Wes Talbot. And this is another model built for the Masterpiece Gallery in Lego House. We are looking at Chromalagous, and it is a gigantic dragon bust with a wonderful set of colors. I mean, there really is a certain type of vibrance that pops so well here. The builder has avoided any of the primary colors or the really common ones, I should say, and instead there's this interesting bright kind of neon subtle gradation that we have that cuts across the entire dragon's face. The building scaly details themselves really work to outline the shape of the dragon head, and even though I knew all of these colors existed in Lego bricks before, I never thought that I would see a Lego build pop quite like this in terms of a composition. The model is just so competently put together that I feel bad focusing just on the colors because, I mean, frankly, this is probably one of the best dragon builds I've seen as well. So anyways, it's just impressive on multiple different levels, and there is a reason why a builder like this gets featured in the Masterpiece Gallery at the Lego House. Alrighty, we're jumping down now to another figure build. Eero Okkonen is just knocking out some amazing characters. I cannot get enough of these guys, or gals in this case. Valerie Orion is the name of this character, and the title says transparent guitar, distortion pedal, rock and roll. Really don't need much else outside of that in terms of a description. The clothing details are really interesting and a bit strange, but they show off some amazing techniques. The halo piece around the hair is a really fun creative use of that part. And now we're jumping on over to a rather large build, or a series of builds. It does look like a collaborative project between J&J Bricks and Brick Ninja. The title is Temple of the Rising Sun, and you can see two different main portions of this larger diorama. There seems to be a clash on a large bridge that is connecting the temple itself to the outside world. I like that you've actually got what look like classic castle knights facing off against samurai warriors, but really the portions of the model that stuck out to me, just the details for the structures themselves. I love the tan as the base color. The reddish brown details really work as ornate highlights. We have some wonderful building techniques that create that half cylinder for the little turret that sticks out on the side, some elegant temple designs, and then the main temple, which is, I think, the structure in the background, has a wonderful pyramid-like shape that just embeds itself into the rock face. There is some wonderful techniques going on the inside there. Talk about getting transported into a different realm. There really is a ton happening here, and it's awesome to see talented builders working together and really creating a much larger vision in Lego bricks. I suppose we're jumping now down to sort of a final three. I didn't actually notice that this was supposed to be part of the Star Wars universe until just now, talking about it. From Finn Roberts, this is Big Gun for a Big Empire. So yeah, looking closely, you can see some Imperial details sort of on some of the equipment, some stickers or digital elements added after the fact. Now that I think about it, some of that plate detailing right in the front does mimic one of those Imperial tanks that we saw from Rogue One slightly, but there really is just a completely different feel when you get to the later points further back in the model. We have some wonderful subtle angular details matching up as the that little curve kind of comes up in the back, and it meshes up flush once you get to the very back. The center of the model has a large artillery cannon that looks like it can pivot a little bit, and it feels like a classic kind of World War II looking vehicle, but meshed and married together with a much more modern sci-fi feel as well. So let's jump on over to our third, actually, figure design for the week. Maybe that's a record here. Moko. The designer Moko has built Hornet Queen. This has got one of those kind of funny, weird stances with the feet pointing in at each other, and an extremely distinct and kind of fun shape for a face and head. I like that it's just a single angle that cuts down through the center of the face. The green hair feels pretty animate, and there's an extremely distinct style for this type of character in terms of the stance, the clothing, and then the fantasy element is very interesting, being the Hornet Queen. There's actually a Hornet build that can somewhat stick onto the back of the figure as well. Let's jump on over to the last design of the week from Oscar Cederwall. This is titled Claymore. So some of this base design does kind of remind me, or may remind you, of something like a B-Wing from Star Wars, but if you look at an image of an old Claymore sword, you'll know that it's a blade that's specifically designed with usually a longer handle and then a very wide, thin guard that comes out on two sides. And so that's where this model really does get its inspiration for a spaceship. The smooth brick-built detailing at this larger scale really translates well. There's no stud detailing, and it really kind of forces you to focus just on the interesting shapes that are created. And I love the choice of the designer to really extend the back of the ship out. It does very much change the overall feel for this model, and that more than anything else really kind of gives it a unique feel. In terms of a ship timber build, this is probably one of the more interesting, unique takes, because it really is just like a super large starfighter instead of like a massive carrier or cruiser, which is usually what you see from this month. And ultimately, it's just a really fun spaceship that I love the look of. Anyways, guys, that is it for my personal favorite top 10 MOCs of the week. If you enjoy our content, you can always like, subscribe, comment, share. If you have any extra time, check out the designers that we've featured here or our web store, www.brickvault.toys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video, and we'll see you next time at Brick Vault.